You're listening to the voices behind Women's Cricket Chat. That's Hannah, Georgie, Cassie, Mihika and Alex. Coming up on today's podcast...
Hello and welcome to Women's Cricket Chat. It's me again, Hannah, and today I am joined with Mihika. So Mihika is our newest member of Women's Cricket Chat, and today is her very first podcast recording. So Mihika, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Mihika and I'm currently studying sports management at Edinburgh University. I've worked previously in the 100 with Manchester Originals and I've done a few things here and there, but I'm trying to learn more about women's cricket and sort of like enhance my experience. So I really hope you like my first podcast and hopefully I don't mess up too much.
You are certainly not going to mess up, Mihika. I've got full confidence in you, and it's honestly such a privilege to have you involved. So we met Mihika during the 100. She was working with the Manchester Originals, working with Kate Cross and Alex Hartley, which is going to be a story in itself that we'll have to come on to another time, whilst I was working with Trent Rockets and Alex was with London Spirit and Cassie was with the Southern Brave. So that's how we met Mihika, and luckily for us, she was a super keen bean. After the competition, got in touch with us and wanted to work with us, get involved with the podcast, and has been plugging behind the scenes trying to do all things kind of sponsorship, because we are at the moment looking for a sponsor. So if anybody is interested, do let us know. But moving on to today's guest, we've got the impactful, inspirational and all-round brilliance of Mina Zahoor, who is currently working at Warwickshire Cricket Board as a diverse communities cricket officer, and she's going to tell us all about the work she does within the Warwickshire community. Well, welcome to the podcast for a start, and thanks for sparing some time. But our first question is just simply, how did you get involved with cricket?
So I was born in Pakistan and I moved to Scotland when I was 13, so around 2008 February. And my dad was in army back in Pakistan, so they used to have quite a lot of cricket events. So I was very sporty, and my dad really wanted someone to get into cricket, being the cricket freaks that every Pakistani is, to be fair. So I got into cricket through that, and we used to have studied in a private school in Pakistan. So we had a school. We used to have sports days at school, and I didn't know that PCB was there, so I got scouted by PCB when I was in year 5, I think. So I got into the Pakistan A and the national squad when I was in year 6. So that's how I got into cricket. So my dad used to actually pick me up and take me to army cricket events and all of that. So that's how I got in.
That's pretty cool. Back in the day in Pakistan, like, was it common for girls to get into cricket like this, like in a professional way?
See, I was really little, so I don't actually remember that much. For me, it was just cricket. It was just sports. So like, I don't remember it that much, but I do remember like playing with Bismar Maroof and Sana Mir, and having them and shared rooms with them, because we used to go on camps for months and months. And I was the only teenager there, and they were about 25, 26 at that time. So for me, I thought it was quite widely played, but I don't, having looked back now, I don't think so, because it was culturally as well. It was like, okay, well, you're sporty, that's good, but I don't remember anyone saying, okay, you're going to play for Pakistan. That's a really cool thing to do at that time. So I do feel like it wasn't that outgrown at that time. No.
Yeah, no, but like, it's so interesting, isn't it, especially when you're younger, to have those experiences and perhaps not realize how big they are in your life until you have that time to reflect on them. So tell us a little bit about your story in Scotland. What was it like when you first kind of came over and tried to get involved with cricket? Was it easy to start playing, or was there any kind of challenges you faced?
We moved. My mum, actually, the reason why we moved was my mum did double masters here from Scotland, and she got an offer to get a job, and my dad was going to retire in a few years' time. So he thought, you know what, it's a win-win. We might as well move there. We'll try our luck, right? So for me, moving to Scotland was a bit difficult because the language, obviously, because I did know a bit of English, but we couldn't speak English as such. So that to understand English is a different thing, but to understand Scottish English was a lot different. So it was a struggle in terms of that. But the only thing I knew was the cricket, and the only gap there was to bridge was cricket. It was different, but when I got into Scotland in the 13s, and I think I played Scotland first 11 as well, they were amazing. They were absolutely amazing. I remember I lived in a small place called Kirkcaldy, just by Edinburgh, and I remember people used to, I think Carrie Anderson, she's now Kerry Catswell, I think it is. She used to pick me up as well. driving an extra hour away just to pick me up and then to take me and then to drive me back. So my experience in itself with cricket was really good. But just other things around that were difficult. But at cricket, I don't think you need to speak English to play cricket. That was the easy bit, to be fair.
And like, how was the weather? It must have been a complete shock for you. It's so gloomy and dark and cold all the time.
I'm not gonna lie, I hated it. I absolutely hated it because you know what it is. Back in Pakistan, the day starts at like 8 p.m. or 6 p.m. and the nightlife is absolutely amazing. And day finishes at slam bam 5 p.m. here. The shops are shut, and it's just I don't want to use the word depressing, but it's really tiring. It's mentally draining as well. I don't like it now. I didn't like it then either, to be fair, but I've gotten used to it now. This feels home now to me, but it is very difficult. It is very difficult understanding them and actually trying to, because in Pakistan I felt like we were the same. It was quite different here. You had to dress a certain way as well, and trying to fit in with that. It was actually quite difficult, but it didn't really bother me, to be fair.
Yeah, because I just wonder as well, because obviously Pakistan's such like a cricket loving nation versus Scotland, where I guess it's still more of an emerging sport. Like, yes, there obviously are the national teams and they are relatively successful on a global stage, but I'm guessing like club cricket and like local pathways are perhaps behind what you would have experienced in Pakistan.
Well, I didn't play club cricket there. They do regions there. So Lahore is a region and Karachi is a region and stuff like that. So I played for a region called Sialkot, which is not far from Lahore. So to me, I did not know what club cricket was. So when I actually moved it, I loved the atmosphere. I did like the fact that at every corner you'll find a cricket club, which we didn't find. We could find literally a lane in my house where I'd just play cricket. That's what we thought cricket was. And here you've got good structure. You've got a youth structure that goes up. We did not see any of that. In that sense, this was brilliant because I actually came through a system. But in Pakistan, you get lucky because you get scouted at a place and you're handpicked, aren't you? So there's no structure in Pakistan. I don't know about now, but back then there was no structure as such. Or maybe I was really young, I didn't know. But for me, it was a completely different scenario when I moved here. There's loads of club in the middle of nowhere. Literally, the places I've been to play cricket is ridiculous because I didn't know anything could exist in that place. But it's actually quite refreshing to see that you've got a cricket ground right next to you, very locally. You don't actually have to travel too far for that. That's good.
So how come instead of playing or getting into coaching or PE, you chose sports management?
this I don't want to say I regret it, but I think I could have made a different choice. So because I was very cricket freak, my mum is very educationist and my dad is very, okay, you should do anything that you want to do in life kind of dad. He's really cool. I love him. So when it came to uni picking stuff, I was really good at IT. So my mum said, okay, this is your route. You should go down that route. My sister is an accountant. So she was very, we've got quite an educational background there. And she was like, no, IT. And my dad said, no, just do whatever you want to do. And at that time, I didn't really realize what I was doing. So I was like, oh, that seems really good. Sport management. I'll pick that one. So I picked sport because I liked sport. In hindsight, if you look at it, actually, I could have played sport and I could have done a different degree outside of sport. But I don't regret, I regret doing that degree, but I actually don't regret what I'm doing right now, which is related to sport. So it is when you're young, you actually, not many people tell you, and this is the stigma around Asian culture anyway, that your parents force you into something, whereas I was completely different. My parents didn't force me into something that I actually didn't want to do. So yeah, here I am.
I guess that links quite nicely as well now to talking about what you are doing now. So could you just tell us a little bit about your current role and what you get up to?
Yeah, so I work as a community engagement officer for Warwickshire Cricket Board. Really grateful for that opportunity, to be fair, because I used to coach for Shine whilst I was studying, because I had to pay for my own cricket in a sense, because my parents were working, and because we actually moved from a different country, we couldn't afford cricket, which is a luxury here. It's really expensive. We couldn't afford that, so I had to work extra time to cover my match fees and stuff like that. So after I graduated, I was looking for a job, and a coach who was back then a coach, Ed McCabe, He said, there's a job going on. Why don't you have a look at that? I applied and luckily got it. So what I essentially do at Warwickshire is I get ethnic minorities into cricket. We're not literally thinking club cricket, hardball cricket. It's grassroots cricket. It's ethnic minorities to get into some kind of physical activity. Whether or not they want to take cricket later, it's up to them. We push them to do that, but essentially want to get them into some kind of sport is what I do currently now.
I have to ask you, how did you come up with the glow in the dark idea? Because that looks so cool.
See, I can't take credit for something that I haven't come up with myself. When I joined in, someone had this idea and they trialed it, but no one actually continued it, if that makes sense. And then I thought, you know what, because girls specifically, they don't like to just play cricket. So I thought, you know what, we can use this and we can put that out. So I made this, I did not make it. It wasn't my idea, but I heard someone saw it in US because they do glow in the dark football or something. So he was like, well, we could try that for cricket. But we only tried it for about half an hour and no one really got into it. And then I took it over. And that's how it became glow in the dark, really. But it is good fun. You should play it.
So for our listeners, can you explain what glow in the dark cricket is, like how it works?
Yeah, so glow in the dark is literally what it says. So we play cricket in the dark. We get UV lights on. We tape the bats and the balls and everything. So we wear a UV bib on and turn the lights off, turn the UV lights on, and play cricket in the dark, literally.
So like with all of these programs that you have, do you focus more on like boys or girls or like maybe a particular kind of ethnic minority or like public schools or more like private schools?
So when I joined in, I don't think that Warwickshire actually engaged with any ethnic minority because they didn't have the resources to. So they didn't have anyone who could go in to work in these communities. So yes, there were cricket being played by ethnic minorities, but that was male focused. What I've done is literally taken up the female side of the things. I don't actually focus on many male projects. I pick up the female side and see what we can do with it. So yeah.
So what do you think the biggest challenges are for ethnic minorities to access cricket at this time, especially for women?
See, it's a deeper topic than we think. If you think about someone like me who actually did end up playing semi-professional cricket, i.e. your county, I've quit cricket myself, you see, to someone who is at school, is quite interested in sport but can't play. For me personally, as a personal opinion, I reckon it comes down to what your family dynamic is, what your family requires or wants you to do. If your parents are, i.e. like my parents, are pushing you to do that, then do you know what, there's no girl that wouldn't do it. But I reckon the barrier itself is i.e. the culture sometimes, or the family that you come from, because I know a lot of girls that were quite sporty but actually couldn't pick up cricket because their parents were not so keen on them. But whereas my parents, they said, look, you've only got one life, you might as well live it how you want to live it, kind of thing. So it's a very deeper topic, and it's quite hard to pinpoint exactly what it is, but I think every situation is different. My situation might be completely different to someone else's, but I reckon this is what I've seen when I coach as well. It's more, if your parents support the girls, then the girls will actually play, and they will play to whatever extent that they can play. But if you don't have the support system behind you, I think that's when it gets difficult.
I was wondering if you saw the comments made by Mike Opera, like from Middlesex, about the fact that like South Asians don't really progress in sport because they only want to pursue academics. Like, do you agree with that?
Yes and no. Yes, to a sense that, as much as I do as well. That's how we've seen growing up. We have to have my mom used to say to me, if you fail an exam, whether or not it's a mock exam, it's a test, it could be a 10-minute quiz from school. If you fail that, no cricket. And my dad was like, okay, I'll sort it out kind of late. But I actually knew that I can't fail a test or an exam because cricket will get taken off. So in our culture, education is must, because that's how I feel we get judged on. Unfortunately, as it is, we get judged on that, which is fine. This could be so controversial. I feel like when as ethnic minorities, when we're born, it's like a set program for us. Okay, you're gonna grow up, you're gonna get education, then you're gonna get married, then you're gonna have a child, then you're gonna do this, and it's a set program. Whereas if you look at other ethnicities, sometimes they're like, okay, you can do whatever you want. You're 16, you can choose your own kind of life. So yes, in a sense that education is must. And I think that's why people drop out, because at a point where you think, okay, are you going to go any further? It was the same with me when I got to Warwickshire first 11, but after a while I realized, okay, am I going to go anywhere with this? If I'm not going to go anywhere with this, what am I going to do? Because we don't, in a way, it does come back to financial stuff as well. I don't have massive financial backing that my dad would like, okay, you continue playing cricket, I'll back you. I have to then go out and earn my own money as well. I can't do that if I don't have any kind of education. So yes, education does stop you, specifically in ethnic backgrounds, because we are so focused on it. And actually people, it is nice to say, okay, my daughter's a doctor or an engineer or whatever, compared to say, okay, my daughter's a cricketer, So, and some people, they take pride in that. My dad is one of those people, but some people don't either. So there is a dropout. I agree with you. I also think that because when I was playing cricket, there was no professionalism. We weren't professional at that time. So it was just naturally that I was going to drop out, because I did not see any other way then. Now I think with the 100 and, the county system, there's no county system, but you've obviously got regional stuff. There is a scope of money, so people actually can continue. But back then we couldn't. And, once you see a road where you think, okay, you're not going to get anything out of it, then do they actually stay? I don't really think so.
I completely understand that side of it when it wasn't professional, in terms of like how players had to go above and beyond to stay in the game. And if there are barriers in your way, especially financially, it makes it even harder to stay within the sport. So how did you kind of keep persisting when those times do get tough?
For me, it was I had a very different experience. Firstly, got to commit. We talk about all the things that have gone wrong with counties treating ethnic minority and stuff like that, but you've got to commend them when they have done something right. For me, it was a very positive experience, because when we moved, we didn't actually we had to work. It was like starting a whole new life, which it literally was. So we did not have the money, but Warwickshire did pay for my cricket for a long time. So all the Morven festivals that are really expensive now, like they're 300-400 quid for about 2 days. It's ridiculous, but they paid for that, and I did not even know that. They just came up to me and said, okay, that's for free for you. But the difference is I was actually good at cricket. If you are good at cricket, then there was a different, so they saw potential in me, which is why they invested in me. If it could be someone who's just being 12th man, and I know a lot of girls I coach now, they're in the literally same position as you, because they don't see a road. I saw a road for me. I actually did see it, which is why there was a lot of investment. I had, you might know Marie Kelly, Anisha Patel, Liz Ruff, Errol Sims, who was then my coach. They used to pick me up from my house, and for someone to do that takes a lot of effort. I can't thank them enough. So it wasn't as tough for me, but yes, financially, when it came to, and then I grew up in 16, I started coaching and stuff like that. So that's how I earned my money, and then obviously paid for my match fees and stuff like that. But having said that, my parents have never taken me to cricket matches, which is really bad to say, but they didn't have the time, to be honest with you. They were working. So I had all these Marie Kellys, Liz Russells, Anisha Patels to actually pick me up and take me, because had it not been for them, I kid you not, I would have dropped out at the age of 13. So it is really hard, and you've got to have like your team members, the support system behind you for you to be able to continue for as long as I did. Otherwise, the people that don't actually have financial support, they naturally drop out. They've got nothing, they can't do anything, because they can't ask someone to lend you money. Neither did I, but actually I didn't need to, because they were just picking me up. So the biggest thing, i.e. petrol money, they covered it all, to be honest. Like it was a very different experience for me, very, very nice. But finance is a massive issue, because cricket is seriously expensive now.
And do you think like it's only gonna improve now with the 100 and having more South Asian women even coming and playing for all these teams? Do you think it's gonna inspire more girls, or do you think like a lot more work still has to be done?
I think a lot of work has to be done. I think so. When we talk about ethnic minorities getting into cricket, it's brilliant that we're talking about that, but that includes me. We don't actually know once we get, because we do have these ethnic minorities playing cricket, but they drop out at the age of 15, and no one knows why. No one actually knows why. So we are doing the work and getting them in. Actually, no one's talking about the fact that there's a dropout and why there's a dropout. And I think that's the bit that people need to focus on, because see, my dad's generation was like, if we leave my dad out, because he's literally been exceptional for me. You think about it, people don't let their kids get their girls play cricket. Girl, i.e. ethnic minority, then i.e. Pakistani, then i.e. Muslim. There are subcategories into this. They don't let that happen. The newer generation, i.e. if I'm to have kids, I will then allow my girls to go and play cricket, because we're more educationally better. We know the world in a sense. We're different now compared to them. So we're fine by that. But it never used to happen before. So I don't think getting them in is the issue. I think it's keeping them in is the issue for me, because they drop out at the age of 16.
Like, do you think maybe having like, female only coaching sessions, or ones which are more friendly towards like wearing the hijab or something, do you think that might help, or no, or even that isn't enough?
Sit on the fence with that one, because if I had to, because I don't drink, right? I never went out clubbing and stuff like that. And bearing in mind, I could do it because I was away with the group. So if, to me, it doesn't matter whether or not you're in a hijab, or I don't think it matters to the girls either. I think it comes to a point where because the two cultures are so different, that's when the dropout happens. I think it's not even accepted. I think it's educating you towards the other culture, and the other cultures have to educate themselves for my culture, if that makes sense. Because like, I don't know how to explain this to you. It's for me, it didn't bother me if it was any coach that was coaching me, if it was a female coach or a male coach, anything, because I just wanted to play cricket. Bearing in mind, I think it's the same mentality. I don't think it's the fact that if you have to have Asian female coaches. But yes, that is true. Asian female coaches are a lot more inspirational. They know the game a bit better in terms of women's cricket. That is true, but I don't think it matters. To me, I don't think it matters.
And you made a really important point as well before about like ethnic minorities, about there's different groups within that. If we talk about how can we get ethnic minorities into cricket, it's not just one group of people. It's so kind of diverse within religion and race and everything within that. So I think that's such an important point to try and get across in this podcast, is if you are going into different coaching roles, like how best can you actually realize who your participants are, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I don't know how to address this, because I feel like it's such a deep topic, and the talk is about ethnic minorities these days. And what people forget is that if you're not going to see them as different, they're not going to be different, if that makes sense. If I see a white girl but is playing cricket compared to a Pakistani or an Indian girl playing cricket, it's the same. The common denominator is cricket. Why do we have to link them as an ethnic minority, as a this or a this or a this? I feel like we think about this too much. What we do forget is cricket. What we do forget is the main point. Like, we're forgetting that an ethnic minority girl could be as good as a white girl or a black girl. What we do get into is, okay, we've got a brown girl who's doing this. For me, it's a difficult topic, because when I coach, or as I believe I've seen myself, is I see everyone as equal for me. So whether or not you could be anyone, and I'd still treat you the same. But then, if you're good at cricket, then yeah, if cricket then becomes the main topic here.
I guess like everybody has different barriers that they face and different challenges, and one of those you mentioned was parental support. So do you think that more could be done to educate parents when these players come in at a young age into a system, that there could be like workshops put on for parents to actually understand the benefits that cricket does have for their daughter, whether it is showing them the career aspirations that now exist because of these professional structures?
I think parents are now more open than what they were back in the day. In any case, I think they are allowing, or they are more open to the fact that girls can actually play sports, because bearing in mind, playing sport is one thing, but what you learn from that sport is completely different. Not many people know this. I learned English from sport. I didn't learn it at school, because half the time I wasn't even at school. So you learn so many of the things when you're playing cricket. I think parents actually do accept that now. There's a different, like, my parents being the support system for me was different compared to, okay, when I got a bit older, and then everyone else in the community started talking, okay, she's going to get married now, what's going to happen to her, this, that and the other. So I know I had the support from my parents, but then as you grow up, there are different conversations. The barriers that we have to face these days is it's hard because yes, I had the support, but at one point, it was a case of when if you play cricket, no one's going to marry you, this, that, and the other. There are different barriers. So initially, yes, you can educate them, but if actually girls don't, if the parents don't see a way up from there, I don't think they're going to let them continue in any case. So yes, they have to be educated, but can we make it a bit easier for them to continue, if that makes sense, is the issue, I reckon.
So like when you make all these new programs for girls to play, is it hard to convince the parents to allow the girls to come, or is it easier now?
So if it's a 10-week program, we start it about 4 weeks earlier than the 10 weeks because we know people are not going to turn up. We have to keep on waiting and waiting and wait. It's just a patience game. And the funny thing is, if one person comes in, right, and they actually like it, I kid you not, they will bring the whole community in, because that one person will be like, okay, so we went to so-and-so place, this was really nice, and the parents didn't trust that one person, and then it's all about trust in this community, all about trust. If they start trusting you, you have 1,000 of them there. If they don't trust you, you're not even going to have one.
But talk to us about the South Asian Cricket Academy that's recently launched. Is it launched this year?
The SACA. Yes, so SACA we started about 3 weeks ago. So Tom Brown was my coach, and I've done many journeys with him to cricket, and he didn't understand why Asian ethnic minority girls, because I used to tell him that I'm going to drop out, and he just didn't understand it. So he spent a lot of time with me in understanding why that is. So when he rang me a few weeks ago, a couple of months ago, and he said, by the way, I'm trying to start something. Do you want to come back, by the way? And I was like, no, I can't now. It's too late. I said, look, Tom, I want to do something that can help these girls in getting in expressing themselves and being confident. Yeah, we can give them all the technical knowledge, but can we pass on that confidence? Can we do something for them? Can we actually do something that will make us better coaches and learn from them rather than just passing it on to them? So that's how we joined in as Warwickshire and SACA. That's how we combined and came up with a women's academy. I personally believe, I think this is I hope I'm trying to make a difference here, but I personally believe this is a good program, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to find out, this is all a learning curve for us as much as it is for them. We're trying to find out, can we make this experience better for the girls? It's not just about, okay, we're giving you 2 hours of cricket, we'll upskill you, but actually, can we make you better in upskilling you in cricket? But can we do anything else to support you in learning more from them as well as us? So we give them a free hour in the 2 hours, and we say, okay, what do you want to work on? And they say, okay, we want to work on X, Y, and Z, and then that's what we do. So I was really passionate about working with SACA because I felt like we can try and make a difference, and even if we change someone out, even if we change one life through that program, I think we've done well.
So I was wondering, how many girls do you have involved, and what sort of programs do you run within the organization?
Within my organization, so be ready for this, because I started with about 9 projects. I think, if I remember correctly, I run about 18 to 19 projects now, and I don't have a social life anymore, let's just say. So we run different programs. So we run something called Bolly Cricket as well. So we do 45 minutes of fitness Bhangra, and then 45 minutes of softball cricket. It's not even tennis ball cricket, it's a foam ball. So it's really, really soft. It's like a stress ball. We do different. So like for me, it's not just about getting cricket, it's about something that they can relate to and join that in to get them into cricket. So we do obviously glow in the dark cricket, we do softball cricket, we've teamed up with Deloitte, we work with Deloitte, get people from different ethnic minorities to get into cricket. So we do quite a lot of different programs. There's about 19 of them, which includes a lot of things. I run a program with ESOL ladies, which is Southern City College, and ESOL English is their second language. And I kid you not, a lot of people, and there are different ethnic minorities. There are Pathans in there, Afghans in there, Syrians in there, Pakistani and Indian. And do you know what they say? That I've never touched a ball, and I've never played cricket because we're not allowed to at home. So when we come here, I have about 40 of them in one session. And one of them will hit, and someone will say, okay, I want to be like Afridi, but then one of them says, oh, I want to be Virat Kohli. So you can see the difference. It's and they hit the ball, and it I don't feel like if I'm exaggerating, I don't know, but it actually does feel like we've made some kind of difference there, because you should see them. You should actually see them. They love life for that hour. So I'm hoping, I do hope that I'm actually making some kind of difference. I really hope I am.
You definitely are making a difference. And hopefully we'll see that kind of expanded even further across the country. I know there's different groups that are doing kind of Bollywood cricket and that kind of stuff, but I want to see more of it as well. So
yeah, I'm the worst person with social media. I don't like social media. I don't put my stuff on social media. I don't touch social media at all, and I get penalized for that. A lot of my bosses, they say, okay, you need to put your work on social media, but it is hard for someone who actually doesn't like it. So that's probably why we don't get. You might not hear about it a lot often, but Warwickshire is actually doing quite a lot of fantastic work that we don't ourselves, which is our fault. We don't shout out about it.
You'll have to send it our way and then we can just push it out on our channels.
I would.
Yeah, no, but it's just, it feels infectious just hearing you talking about it. Like, I'm like, oh, I want to go and play glow in the dark cricket and I want to go and do this and that kind of thing. So hopefully people listening as well will be getting that energy too, to be like, we're going to try something different. And you don't have to play, like you say, it doesn't have to be hardball 11-a-side cricket. You can have different entry points and that's okay. You don't have to come into cricket to be an elite cricketer. You can just enjoy the game for the sake of it. So what has been kind of like your highlights so far within all of that work that you've mentioned? What's been the biggest impact do you think you've made?
I think I run, so with Glow in the Dark Cricket, we run a 10-week program with the girls, just to get them into cricket. And then, because if they just do Glow in the Dark Cricket, they expect that every week. So we want to keep that as a surprise element, something that will bring them together. So we run a 10-week program. And one of the schools, we've currently worked with 6 schools. I started with 3 schools and built it up to 6. One of the schools have 45 girls in a session, and you should hear them talk. They actually talk about, oh my God, I don't get the chance to do this. And I think one of the girls came up to me and said, look, apart from these 4 walls, I have to be a different person because I can't be this loud. I can't shout. I can't scream. I can't jump about and tell people off. This is the only hour that I get to myself where I can be myself. And that actually hit me because I actually forgot that I was enough to pursue that and be myself, because my parents were, unfortunately, my parents really did support me, but some girls don't get that support. And I felt like I was making a difference in her life, even if it was for an hour. That, I think for me, that is the highlight, that we can't fully change someone's life, but if we can do that little tiny bit to make it just little tiny bit better for them for that 1 hour in the week, and they absolutely love it. They religiously come, they don't miss a 10-week program. If I can do that, then I think that was my highlight, if I can change someone's life just for an hour. Because I do believe that culturally it's very difficult. It's very difficult because I have faced it myself. I've seen it. I was lucky enough that my parents did support me, but if they weren't going to support me, what was I going to do? It's very difficult. And if I can change, if I can make or help someone just for an hour, I think for me I've done my bit.
I absolutely love that. Like, you're saying you're like choking off a bit. I'm literally trying to not to tear up. I'm very hormonal at the moment. Honestly,
quite passionate about cricket. I don't know if you can sense it, but I am.
No, but it hits hard, doesn't it? Like, it does hit hard. Like, the impact that you can have on people's lives is just phenomenal. And like, just to allow somebody to express themselves in that way, like, that's the biggest compliment you could get coaching wise, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't coach as such, but I obviously, because I'm so busy organizing events and stuff like that, but I do want to learn as coach. Usually we're going down the route of professional coach and stuff like county systems and stuff like that, but I actually really, and it sounds really bad, but I actually really enjoy working and coaching the bottom end of cricket, because the passion that you see there, you actually but you actually, it fades away in a sense, because it becomes professional, it becomes quite competitive, it becomes that thing. But when you're quite young, or when you start at a very lower level, I think that's when you should see it makes a lot of difference to a lot of people's lives.
And that leads nicely on to the next question about the differences between working within the participation side of the game of just that entry level versus the elite level, and what's needed with the likes of the SACA program versus the glow in the dark cricket. Like, what are the biggest challenges and differences in setting those up?
I think the counties across England, they are doing a very wonderful job, because I know everyone's doing the same kind of stuff, whether it works at their, because some things might not work at my area compared to whatever, but I think everyone's doing it. Everyone has got something going. I think the difficulty becomes when, for example, if I've done glow in the dark, where do they go next from here? Because next could be club, but club is a very huge step for them from glow in the dark, because that's only continuous cricket, remember. So whether or not we can bridge a gap between that continuous cricket to club cricket is also worth looking at. I personally believe, and I'm not saying that because I work with SACA, I personally believe SACA is doing an amazing job in bridging that gap. Obviously, this is a pilot. For the 8 weeks that we're doing, this is a pilot, and we have picked up girls from county level under 15 programs. But I reckon going forward, SAC might want to look at girls that have got the passion, have got the backing and stuff like that, who are into clubs. Can we find that raw talent from there? So it is difficult, because you do all sorts of programs and you don't know when people are going to drop out. You don't know what's going to click for them, what's not going to click for them. Some people actually don't even want to get into county and club and stuff like that. Whether or not we can keep them engaged in stuff like glow in the dark, volley cricket, any kind of continuous cricket, after school cricket, whether or not we can keep them engaged for that time as well, I think that's a win for everyone. Because yeah, they don't want to be professional cricketers, but actually they are learning so much about themselves whilst playing cricket. They are learning so much about other people. They are getting a lot of, it sounds really good on a CV, but you actually do get that. You get leadership skills, you get communication skills, you actually work in a team together. So you are getting a lot of things, even if you're not playing professionally. So for me, as long as it's up to them if they want to stop playing cricket, whatever, if it's glow in the dark, if it's continuous, if it's whatever, if they want to continue playing that same level, then that's fine. I don't even know if I've answered your question, to be honest.
It was a nice answer regardless. So Mihika, have you got the next question?
So I had a question about like language. Is it hard like to talk to people like who maybe can't speak Hindi, or like who can't speak English or Urdu? Like how do you communicate with all those students?
So with ESOL programs, bearing in mind you've got Afghan, so this is Pashto we're speaking about, there is Punjabi, Indian, Pakistani, so all sorts of language. So when I did the glow in dark with them, I had to explain myself in English to begin with, and then I had to explain myself in Urdu. And then what they did was they understood bits of it, and they had to tell their own friends in their own language. So it is difficult. But for me, I think as coaches, you actually tend to realize when they're understanding things and when they're not. If they really don't understand the language, what you do is you literally talk through the drill, you demonstrate it right in front of them, and then they just pick it up from there. But I'm lucky in a sense, because I can understand Punjabi, I can speak Urdu. Hindi and Urdu are exactly the same thing. There's no difference in the cultures at all. So for me, it's easier because I can speak to them, I can communicate with them. Language is a barrier, I reckon, but people get, after a while, people get over it, I reckon, after a while, because you can get a few points across that you want to get across. It's sometimes not as difficult.
Going forwards now, what are your hopes for 2022 and Warwickshire Cricket Board, and obviously SACA as well?
2022, I think, it's a massive year. Commonwealth is around the corner, and you've got the Women's World Cup that is also like starting in a month, I think. And I think we changed a lot of lives when the women won the World Cup. But unfortunately, I felt like there was a graph that went up and then it just died down because of COVID and stuff like that. If we can continue that graph going up through the Commonwealth Games, through the back of that, and the 100 actually made a lot of difference, then we'll be able to sustain that. For me, I personally, I think it's easier to get into cricket. I think what people need to worry about and think about is how you sustain them, how you keep them in the program rather than getting them in, because we get quite a lot in. It's whether or not we can keep them, and how do we keep them? Do we need to understand their culture? Do we need to understand them as humans? Because sometimes we don't, because we just assume they'll fit in, but sometimes they don't fit in. So what can we do to make it easier for them to stay? And I think SACA comes right into this, and I think Tom Brown's doing quite an amazing amount of work where he's trying to understand what we can do to sustain them rather than bringing them in, because we do that through women's softball festivals and stuff like that anyway. It's what can we do to sustain them. For me, I think we need to look at. But it's a huge year for women's cricket.
Do you have any special events for the 100 this year or the Commonwealth Games?
Too many. We've got one every month from Warwickshire, so we've had a timetable. We've got one every month that we're going to focus on, specifically on ethnic minority girls. We're actually doing a NACC women, that's National Asian Cricket Council women, versus Birmingham 11. That's not ethnic minority 11. That's anyone from Birmingham who wants to take part in a good T20 hardball cricket. We'll put up an event that's going to be directly linked to Commonwealth. But we're doing quite a lot of stuff. We do quite a lot of Eid mailers and stuff like that, and then we're trying to up the amount of schools that we engage with. So we specifically target ethnic minority schools where we can have a bit more reach, trying to target them to make sure that we get them into cricket. So yeah, a lot of stuff. It's too much. I feel like sometimes you don't get a break.
And if people do want to get involved and they're listening, how can they reach out to you and how can they find out about the latest events?
So Warwickshire Cricket Board is the website that they need to go to. There's everyone who works in whatever programs and their email addresses and their numbers. And I think my number's on there and my email address is on there. If there's anything that I can do to help them out, they just need to give me a shout and I'll do everything I can to help them.
Perfect. Mihika, have you got any final questions or are you ready to wrap up?
Do you have any piece of advice to any girls who are feeling lost and confused and don't know how to sort of get started? Anything for them?
Actually, that's a really good question. A piece of advice. I just think if they really think that this is what they want to do, whether or not they want to do it professionally or just for the time being, I think they should go for it. They'll be actually really surprised at what women can achieve if they start something, because what we get told are our roles in the genders, and actually we don't explore what we can do. So if they are feeling a bit down about starting this, my one advice would be to try and challenge yourself and go for it. You'd be surprised the amount of stuff women can actually do, and women are actually good at that. We just don't have the confidence to do it. And once you get into that system, once you get into the sport, you'll actually end up liking it and you'll make new friends and people will support you. There are a lot of people that do actually support other people as well, bearing in mind. So once you do get into it, my advice would be to try and test yourself and see where you get.
I absolutely love that. And that's such a nice way to kind of round up. Our final bit, if the dog stops squeaking his toy, is we just do a quick fire 60 seconds questions. So it's just like last book you read. You know what I mean? One of those.
Okay.
So Mihika, have you got some lined up as well, or do you want me to do this? Yeah. I was like, I'm throwing you straight into a deep end today, like first ever podcast episode. You've done really well, Mihika. So
she smashed it.
Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. But yeah, so I'll quickly do the 60 seconds quick fire questions if you're ready.
Go for it.
Favorite ground you've played at?
Edgbaston.
Favorite ground internationally that you've been to?
I've been to Lahore Gaddafi Stadium, but I would actually love to go to any Indian stadium and watch Virat Kohli bat. It's my dream.
I was about to say favorite player.
Favorite player has to be Babar Azam. Nice.
Last book you read?
40 Rules of Love. I think that was.
If you're at a village cricket ground and they've got the teas out, what's your go-to first item?
We don't get many options because not many people did halal stuff. So unfortunately, it was tuna, to be fair.
Sweet or savoury?
Oh, savoury, for sure. Not sweet tooth.
Netflix or Amazon Prime?
Netflix.
Last film you watched?
I don't actually remember. Last film I watched a very old film the other day. I can't remember. No. But the last thing I watched was Money Heist. So that was a long time ago.
Favourite player that you've played with?
Amy Jones, for sure. She is the most sweetest and kindest person you will ever meet.
And this is where I don't normally do these questions, so I'm dreadful at this. Mihika, have I inspired you for any, like, just a couple more quick fire questions?
Hollywood or Bollywood movie?
Definitely Bollywood. There's no answer. Bollywood, full stop. I'm a proper Bollywood freak.
Scotland or England?
Oh, England, any day. Scotland was hard, man. Scotland was hard. I feel like you agree with that too. Birmingham, actually. We'll hang out. You should come to Birmingham.
Yes. I think we had quite a few questions. I think that was
plenty. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just need to know that the next time I'm doing this, I need to actually get them prepared and proper. I forget.
Yeah. No one's ever done 60 seconds on me, so this was a
Yes.
good one.
But thank you so much for your time. I've absolutely
thank
loved
you,
chatting to
guys.
you. I've learned so much as well, so hopefully our listeners will do too.
Thank you so much to you both for having me. Yeah, thank you so much. And if you guys are in Birmingham, do give me a shout.
Commonwealth Games, we'll see you there.
Oh yes, if I get tickets, that is. We can't seem to find any tickets.
And you're hosting.
Well, we are Warwickshire Cricket Board. We're not Commonwealth.
Yeah, but it's a stadium. Ask
we
your
could sneak. I could sneak in. To be fair, I could sneak in.
Just get your lanyard on.
We have to get accredited now. So you reminded me. Actually, the deadline was 14th of Feb. I had to get myself accredited before that. So I'll get on that right now.
But yeah, hopefully see you at the Commonwealths, sneaking in, if not officially. But I honestly can't wait for that. It's going to be a huge year for Birmingham.
It's going to be really good fun, I reckon. Thank you ever so much for all your help.
Cool. And yeah, if you've got anything at all that you want us to promote, just ping it across in an email and we'll make sure we're back. But yeah, have a lovely rest of the day and thanks for squeezing us in.
Okay, thank you both. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Massive thank you to Mina for coming on and being a guest on the podcast. It was really interesting to hear her thoughts on certain topics and really great to see the work she's doing at Warwickshire, especially with things like glow-in-the-dark cricket and her work with SACA. And if you want to find out more about SACA, go to saca-uk.com. Massive thank you to Mina for coming on and being a guest on the podcast. It was really interesting to hear her thoughts and perspective on things. Also really great to hear about the work she's doing at Warwickshire, especially with glow-in-the-dark cricket and making cricket more accessible to South Asians. It was also really great to hear about Mina's work with SACA. Now, if you don't know what SACA is, it stands for the South Asian Cricket Community, and if you want to find out more about SACA, go to saca-uk.com. And to all our listeners, if you want to keep up to date with everything that we're doing, you can follow us on Twitter at WCricketChat, on Instagram at Women's Cricket Chat, and if you want to give us a like on Facebook, we are Women's Cricket Chat. If you'd like to give our personal Twitters a follow, then it's at HannahT1194, at GeorgieHeath27, at Cassie Coombs98, at Mihika Varshni, and I'm at Alex James Pereira. This has been Women's Cricket Chat. Tune in next time.